Our organism interaction is about Canadian geese. So where's Canadian geese? It belongs to the duck family. Color patterns: Canadian geese have a black head with white cheeks, chain strap, black neck, tanned breasts, white belly, and a brown grayish back. Canadian geese nest on the ground, on island, on shorelines. Both sexes. The length is 29.9 to 43.3 inches. The weight is about 300 to 900 grams, and the wingspan is 50 to 66.9 inches. Males, females. The sexes are alike in their coloration. Males are typically larger than females by 10% only. Females have pointed tail and males possess round tail. The neck shape: males have longer and thicker neck, while females have shorter and slimmer neck. Canadian geese may survive for 10 to 15 years in the wild and more than 30 years in captivity. Common behavior for both sexes: hissing, loud honking, and gobbling cries can be used when danger is present. Males are really protective. Females spend more time at the nest than males. Groups fly in V-shaped formation. Monogamous mates are usually found within 2 years. Canadian geese select mates that are really similar to their own size. Canadian geese feed by dabbling on the water and grazing on the fields and large lawns. The initial observations: the Canadian geese in this study were found throughout our area of observation. In the grass found on the pond edges, some of the Canadian geese were flying. Most of the Canadian geese stayed together in big groups. Different species were found interacting with our group selected species. However, the human present in our observation area.
So based on our recordings, our initial ideas and questions are: how do the geese interact? Do they have a preferred feeding area? Do the geese have preferred food? Do the geese have feeding patterns? And lastly, is there a difference between their feeding patterns during every season? The image in this slide shows one of the environments, the pond, and in this other slide we show the image of the land where we found some of these species that we observed. So based on our recordings, our two hypotheses are: first, our alternative. If the preferred food for Canadian geese is available in the pond, then the number of geese in the area will be concentrated in the pond. Our null hypothesis is: there is no difference in the population density in both feeding grounds. Based on our observations, our experimental design is as follows. To determine if the species have a preferred feeding area, we propose a 1-year experiment where we will record the feeding patterns of Canadian geese in time intervals. Specifically, we intend to record the movement of geese during the spring and during the fall, 1 week each. The observations will be in pond and in an open landscape. On the pond, we will record the number of individuals in deep water and the edge of the water. On the land, we will record the number of individuals in the dam bank and dry bank. These individuals will be recorded in every region every 10 minutes for 1 hour during the morning, afternoon, and evening. We expect a total of 126 observations every week. At the end of the experiment, we will quantify our data by using a two-way ANOVA test to compare the two measured variables, that is, seasons and time of day. Moreover, for this specific experiment, our conditions are as follows. For our initial experiment, several male and female Canadian geese were recorded eating worms in a pond and eating grass in an open land located in Woodward Park. These species were recorded at the beginning of the month of November and then 1 week after. The geese were recorded under a 10-minute time interval to record their interactions with the environment.
The initial conditions that our group experienced with observing our organisms was an open pond and a park setting. This place was at Woodward Park in Fresno, California. Weather conditions in our experiment varied during our visits, from cloudy, windy, stormy, to hot and cold conditions. Time of visits were spontaneous from our group as we couldn't align our schedule. Uncontrolled variables were present. Examples of this were cars, humans, trash, and other non-native animals. Observation area had no control of incoming and outgoing occupants, as this species was a migratory species. Landscape was a man-made and may have affected the behavior of our species. Overall, the results our group obtained from our experiment were inconclusive. We could not find the preferred feeding grounds for Canadian geese. As mentioned previously, as our group reached its conclusion, there was no significant outcome at this point in the research. The experiment provided our group with more questions than it did answers. It was clear that our group could not control the variables that were present in the observation area. Upon examining our experimental research, there were many possible sources of errors. Just to name a few, one is that we did not follow or tag the same individuals over an extended period of time. 2. Migratory species were only available for observation during certain periods throughout the year. 3. Observation times were inconsistent and may not be adequate to discern preferred feeding area. 4. Human interference may be affecting time in divided areas in our experiment. 5. It was difficult to track incoming and outgoing occupants into our observation area. After our group discussed possible errors with the experimental research, we discussed ways to improve the experiment. Increased observation times throughout the year may give us better time data points on our species. We could increase observation times in a day, which would give us more observation throughout the day of our species. Keep observation times consistent at certain times of the day so we can see if behavior changes throughout certain periods of the day. Compare spring and fall interactions for any significant difference to see if things like weather conditions had any interactions with our species while they were feeding in their preferred feeding areas. We could also track specific individuals in the area. Another would be control non-natural interactions when species is present in feeding, such as the dogs, cats, or humans during feeding times. We can also narrow in on preferred food sources that are available in each area.
And these are references, All About Birds and the editors of Encyclopedia Britannica. Thank you for watching our video.